Hello, guys, how are you today? As we all know, and you can see in the platform Cynthia, for this week we have been assigned, or you have been assigned, an analysis on a mini text, right? First of all, let me introduce this term mini text to you, which is like probably another way of doing discourse analysis, right? And it's going to let us gain competencies in the analysis production that we are working on. In this new term, in this second term that we have this semester, we will continue working on different strategies to do discourse analysis. In this case, we will focus on mini text. A mini text is a very small text, right? But with cohesion and coherence, and probably taken from a longer text or from another from a book or from a different fragment. Okay. So since you have to work on your own analysis on a different mini text than the one that we will be working today, I just want to give you some guidelines, some support on the activity, the assignment that you have to submit this week. So let's start with some aspects to bear in mind for your analysis on a mini text. I want to work on today's lesson with an example, okay? As you can see on your screen, this is a mini text taken from the book Rommel, Hart and Attorney in 1977, sorry, and taken from a material written by Hoey in 2001. Let's read all together. Mary heard the ice cream man coming. She remembered her pocket money. She rushed into the house. As you can see here, we have a mini text composed composed of three sentences. And if we start analyzing, start comprehending the information within the text, we can see it looks like a narrative text, right? Telling us a story, really short story, but we can easily see a situation here. There is a situation, there is a problem, and probably a solution to the problem, right? The idea is that we start drawing some ideas, probably some inferences that we can make, taking into account the participants, the situation, the context, probably the country where this situation took place, because it's already written in 1977, right? And some other characteristics that we can actually analyze in this mini text. So let's start. What I did, it was dividing each of the sentences from the mini text for giving you a better understanding or ideas or elements that probably we can analyze on this mini text. So first of all, the first sentence, Mary heard the ice cream man coming, right? And around this sentence, we have a lot of elements that we can analyze or that we can do analysis on. The first of all that we do in discourse analysis, and we've been talking about this from the beginning of the semester, since the beginning of the semester, it's setting the context, right? And probably you may ask yourself, what can we do to set the context here? Probably you already have some insights on the importance of the context, right? and it is important to set the context in the beginning because the context, remember, as Holiday said, right, determines the whole analysis. And if we want to do analysis on the context of the situation, we need to know what the context is. Remember what Malinowski found in his research, right? Uh, what he did to understand the context of situation and the context of culture, right? And the importance of the social part, the linguistic part, and the cognitive part. So here we have, and probably we need to know a lot of a certain culture where the situation took place, right? In this first sentence, we have Mary heard the ice cream man coming. So let's start like reading in detail this sentence so we start working on our analysis. I'm gonna give you some elements, not the whole analysis. Probably you may start also drawing your own conclusions and ideas, but I will give you some elements or insights. First of all, to set the context, we could start thinking of the name that we have here, which is Mary. And if we read the whole mini text, we can infer that Mary is the main character here, the main participant. We have another participant, which is the ice cream man coming, but we'll talk about him later. So Mary, we can think of the name, the origin of the name, and probably it's a very common name in the United States, or probably the United Kingdom, right? But if it could have the origin on English-speaking country. However, since we need to set the context, I will follow on a North American context. Okay, so like setting that Mary is a girl, right, from the United States. I cannot think of another country. Okay, I cannot think of another country in my analysis. I need to follow this context so the analysis is coherent. Okay. So then, moving on, I think about Mary as a girl in the United States. What do you think could be a stereotype for Mary, right? Is she a blonde girl, white or Caucasian girl? What color are her eyes? Blue, green, right? Is she 9 years old? Is she 10 years old? Right? Probably along the analysis we can determine how old is she, right? So we start like thinking of a stereotype about Mary based on our background knowledge, on our experience, probably if we do have it, and also on the culture, the information about the culture that we have about the United States, for example. And probably we're connected to the culture since we're studying that language, and also because we have been facing or watching a lot of movies from the United States, and probably a lot of TV shows, series, I don't know, probably a lot of information we have from the United States. So that is a second aspect, the stereotype, right? We can also relate the stereotype with the ice cream man, right? How do the ice cream man look like in the United States? How do they look? What is his or her? Usually his appearance, right? Do they wear a uniform? What color is the uniform? How old are them, or is he, right? Where do they sell the ice cream? That's a good question as well that we can start working on. Then, after analyzing the participants, setting the context, right, we can move on into the action that we have here, which is heard, right? That's the main action in this first part of the mini text. So think about the action that we have here. Is it a verbal action or a non-verbal action, right? When we read this verb heard, right, we're thinking about sound that is actually connecting the participant with another action, right? And her probably she heard the ice cream man coming by via via a sound, right? Or in Colombia, if we do the comparison, right, we don't have like a car selling ice creams. We have people walking with a cart and sounding a bell, and that we recognize that the ice cream man is coming, right? For example. So coming back to the action, we need to identify what kind of actions do we have in the situation. Here we have heard, which is a nonverbal action because it's a sound. There is no utterances. There is no oral production by a participant. It's only a sound that activates the whole situation, the whole story, right? And that we need to take into account. And we can do more analysis on the sound, on the situation, what kind of music do they play when they sell the ice cream, for example, which is usually classical music, right? Because they need to have like a symbol, right? And remember, like also nonverbal actions provokes reactions on the other participants, like effects on the other participants, right? Then we move on the ice cream. The ice cream here is a symbol, a very important symbol in this situation, right? Because it determines the whole story, and it helps us to identify probably Mary's age, right? Because I don't think you at your age are interested or in having an ice cream and running to get the money because the ice cream man is running away. No, probably you do. You would be interested in having an ice cream, and you take your time on the moment that you have the opportunity to buy it, but not like you rushed. So probably Mary is not as old as we could think. Probably she could not be even 4 years old, because probably when we're four, we have not the opportunity to have like to possess money, right? Not even coins, I guess, because we're too young. But probably when we are 8, we could have the opportunity to have some bills, some savings, right? And if we move to the American culture, we have students who receive an allowance, a weekly allowance or a monthly allowance, right? And they usually have a piggy bank where they deposit all the savings that they have, right? And that's part of the culture. So we have the ice cream as a very important symbol, as a relevant feature, as Firth says in the holidays material. And then we have the ice cream man as another participant, which is also important, but not as Mary, because Mary is involved in the 3 sentences that we have in this mini text. So what is the stereotype? I was talking about that. What is the previous knowledge that we have about an ice cream man in terms of the stereotype, and probably the function or the role that he plays in this mini text, right? Then we have the other action, which is not as important as heard, but it's also an action, right? And the ice cream man coming, in this case, probably coming determines a good part of the story, right? Because what means of transportation he's using to come to Mary's, or to get close to Mary, right? Here we have probably that he comes taking into account the culture, right? That he comes in a truck, in a van, really different than Colombia. And we can start thinking about how does that truck looks like, right? And some other ideas that we may involve in this part. Then we move to the context, right? What country is it? We already mentioned that. What will be a possible place for this situation to occur? Since we're talking about an ice cream man coming, we could draw that this is happening, or this happened in the suburbs, far away, or well, fairly far away from the city, right? Because, for example, if we think of the United States, in Manhattan, for example, we're going to find that ice cream men do not sell ice creams in the trucks around the city, because it's really dangerous, because probably kids are not allowed to go to the streets by themselves, not even with adults, because of the traffic, the movement, the crowded. So it's really common to happen in the suburbs, so like surrounding the city. A possible place in well, ahead we will see what could be a possible place for this situation to occur. And then we have the culture, the suburbs, and the social status. Okay, if Mary lived in the suburbs, it's because culturally the suburbs are for people who have a very good job in the city, right? But they want to have like more calm. They want to live in a bigger place. They want to have like a different life. So probably they have a good social economical status. Okay, and finally, in this sentence, I want to mention something about the mode. Okay, the function of language here. What is the structure of the sentence, for example? How is the sentence grammatically structured? So we have Mary as a person, right? Then we have an action or a verb, and then we have a complement, right? So we have like the very common used structure in grammar, right? And actually, if we move on to the next two sentences, we're gonna find the same structure, and that's also connected to the genre. So we can think of a narrative text here, right? Displaying a situation. Let's continue with the next sentence, which is she remembered her pocket money, right? Again, who are the participants? Here we have Mary again. We don't have the ice cream man, right? But we have Mary. We have another verb, another action, right? Remember, which is a verbal or non-verbal. Yes, a non-verbal action, because remembering does not require Mary to speak, to yell, to scream, or I don't know, something that probably provokes an utterance. Okay, so it's only Mary remembering. Okay, so and it's in the past. Okay, then we have the function of the sound. Okay, the function of the sound. I mean, what Mary heard in the first part of the mini text, right, provokes a reaction on Mary, and this is the second sentence, right? It's connected to the first sentence. Even though we have no connectors, we can understand that the first sentence is connected to the second one. We continue talking about culture. Here we have pocket money. The pocket money, I mentioned something about that, connected to the allowance that they receive monthly or weekly, and the piggy bank, which is something really cultural in the United States with the children. We continue talking about Mary's age, right? First of all, that probably she is excited about having the ice cream. At what age are we excited about having an ice cream, right? That could give us a range on Mary's age. We don't need to be specific, like she's 8, she's 9, no, because probably we're going to fail in the analysis, but probably we can give a range. Probably she's from 8 to 12, right? In that range, it could be okay to determine Mary's age because of the excitement of having the ice cream, because of the fact that she can have money to buy the ice cream, right? And she can get the money by herself. And then finally here, we can recall the context again, the place where she was. So probably ahead we have more information about this, but we need to keep the question, like, right, where this did happen. It happened inside the house, outside the house, in a park, where, right? And here we have the third sentence. She rushed into the house. Again, we have participants there in the sentence. We have Mary again. We have no the. We don't have the this guy, the ice cream man. We have another action which is rushed, which is a verbal or non-verbal, right? Non-verbal, right? Rushing or running or jumping does not require us to speak, and that's a non-verbal action. She rushed into the house, right? Rushed, related to the excitement that she has about having the ice cream, that determines also the Mary's age, right? Rushed because probably comparing Colombia's culture with the American culture. In Colombia, you can tell the ice cream man, like, can you wait for me so I get the money, and he can wait for you an hour because he wants to sell the ice cream. In the United States, the ice cream trucks, they stop by in a part of the street, and all people who is excited about having the ice cream, all children, they get to the car, they get to the truck, right? And he stays there until he sells what he is selling, and then he leave. He's not gonna be there like waiting for somebody to come, right? That's something related to the culture. The action rushed is related to the sound. She rushed because she heard the ice cream man coming, not because she thought of a different thing, but the music, the chime in the beginning, connected her how can I say this? Her desire on having an ice cream, and the sound and the possibility that she had in that moment to buy the ice cream. And then we have the context again, right? It says into the house. That means she was out of the house. Probably she was playing in the backyard or in the front yard, right? We have those two possibilities, but she was out of the house. She was not at the park. She was out of the house, close to the house. So she had the opportunity to rush into the house really quick and get the money to buy the ice cream. Okay. The weather. What was the weather like? So we usually don't have an ice cream when it's really cold. And winter in the United States, it's really aggressive, I'd say, right? The temperatures can get really low, even before zero, right? And the last thing you would like to eat, it would be an ice cream. So I don't think it was winter or autumn or spring. I think it could be connected to the summer. And since it was summer, probably they were not at school, because at that time it's their time off in schools. So probably it could be actually not in the morning, but in the afternoon or evening, because of the time. Children are not allowed to have ice cream in the morning, right? But in the afternoon. Here I'm just giving you some ideas so you connect probably the analysis that you did in the beginning and the analysis that we are doing now. But you may have even though other ideas, new ideas that probably I'm not saying here, but you have them in your mind that came up while I'm talking. And then we have the culture again, talking about the suburbs, the type of house. Usually the houses in the suburbs are like terrace houses, wooden houses, and big houses for people who can actually, afford that type of house, right? Was she alone? That's a good question. I don't think so. Even though she was playing out of the house, I think there was an adult watching her, right? Because of her age. And because she cannot be 18 or 20 and rushed into the house to get the money to buy an ice cream. I don't think a person that age would do that. Okay, guys, those are my ideas. Here we have the three sentences, like the whole mini text. I just took into account the three features of this context of situation, field, tenor, and mode, and probably the context, the participants, probably the social part. The culture is really important here because it gives us a lot of insights to make inferences on the text. Um, well, while watching this video, I invite you to read, to take your time and read this analysis done by Howie based on this mini text. Okay, as you can see, the mini text on the top of the page, right? And then there is a description or an analysis on this mini text done by a specialist in discourse analysis. Here we have the reference Hoyt in 2001. So I would like you to stop the video and read and understand like a different view on this analysis, and you can compare to what we just mentioned to the analysis that you had or that you were having along my explanation. Here we have a more detailed analysis on this mini text, on Mary's mini text, right? And which I would like you to take your time and read it also. And then we have here a different analysis based on a different context, right? So we set a different context in our analysis. Here we have a very creepy context, which is also valid, right? It's also valid because the context is connected to the rest of the inferences and ideas. So I invite you to read it as well. And then we have here, this is the mini text that you will be working with on your own in groups of 3 or 4 students. I invite you to do the same analysis, the same take into account the same elements and the elements that you want to include also. Okay, so you will find this mini text in Cynthia. Just go there, read it, work in groups, share your ideas, and then post your analysis. Your analysis, I won't give you like a maximum or minimum page. You just write or compose your analysis according to all the ideas that you can draw, that you can take out from this mini text, similar to the one that we just worked in this tutorial video. Okay, so if you have any question, please let me know. I hope I could be a support for you on this week's assignment. So have a good day.